Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 13 of Thinktwice, a weekly show where we talk about things going on in the world of Magic the Gathering, gaming, and pop culture. As always, I'm Justin Parnell, joined by my co-host, Ali Aintrazi, and this week we're going to be talking about the brand new Ixalan Standard coming out of SCG Dallas going into the World Championships, the top 10 Ixalan cards for Commander, and of course, Jason Vraska's love story. So at least since you didn't do any standarding over the weekend, what did you do?
More funnel cakes.
More funnel cakes? I thought you weren't eating the funnel cakes.
I'm not, but I'm making them. I'm like that guy on Hearthstone that's screaming at you. Buy one. Wanna buy a funnel cake?
There's a lot. I think funnel cakes on Hearthstones are like euphemisms for drugs.
Buy one.
No, I'm serious. Because it's like this shady card, and it's like, want to buy a funnel cake?
Yeah. Well, you also have the vendor, the refreshing vendor.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't think we're
like,
talking about funnel cakes. Not the same type of funnel cakes you're talking about.
Maybe not. Well, that's actually interesting. I did festivals, and I also went and caught some Pokemon.
Oh, I did too. That was a large majority of my weekend.
Catching Pokemon?
Yeah, like a solid 24 hours. My girlfriend Meredith and I played we Pokemon Go'd quite a bit this last weekend. Probably like a 24-hour span.
Nice.
Yep.
What'd you get?
So, as some of you know, those of you that play Pokemon Go know, you can currently catch legendary Pokemons in the level 5 raids, and on Saturday, the legendary Pokemon you're able to catch switched from Raikou, which is the Generation 2 Electric Dog, to Entei, the Generation 2 Fire Dog. Now,
Beast. Let's call them beasts.
They're dogs. You can call them whatever you want.
I think they're cats. Aren't they?
I think they're dogs. Raikou kind of looks like a saber-toothed tiger, though.
I say beasts.
Yeah, they're probably
beasts.
Okay, beasts. Anyway, so we were planning, because I had not had the opportunity to catch a Raikou yet. I'd fought several of them, and for whatever reason, literally just could not catch one. My girlfriend has caught like 3. She had trouble with the birds. I've had trouble with Raikou. So we go out with her youngest son Levi, who's 10, to play early afternoon on Saturday. So we go do another Raikou raid, beat it, still can't catch it. And this is with like maximum amount of Pokeballs. I get 14 after the.
Jeez.
Which is I think the most you can get. Still cannot catch it. And then we go do another Raikou raid, and I finally catch it. Man. And then we're still out, so we're like, oh, well, let's see what else is going on. And we're like, okay, well, there's another one that hatches, another legendary raid that hatches in a few, in like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So we go back.
Until then.
We go back, and then we drop off Levi, and then Meredith and I come back out ourselves, and it hatches, and it's Entei instead of Raikou.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, holy crap. That's like ridiculously. Well, yeah, because I got literally the last Raikou during like the last raid possible. And then we both catch the Entei in like this group of like 30 people. We had to split up into 2 different groups to catch him. So got both Raikou on the last day, Entei on the first day. That's pretty much what I did on this weekend also.
That's kind of cool, yeah. I got Raikou. I haven't been playing much Pokemon Go, and I found one. I got lucky and found one on the way home. Just popped up, and so I went there. It was my first Raikou raid, and people were there already. Luckily, they hadn't started, and I did it, and I caught him.
Nice.
I caught him my first raid, so I'm 1-1 Raikou. And I wanted to go back out, but I never was able to. Then on Entei, I went and caught one too, and also I was able to catch I got a special raid invite to catch a Mewtwo, and I got a Mewtwo as well.
I'm super jealous about that. I've done so many raids, but we've not gotten an invite for a Mewtwo raid yet, which is
I think you're more likely to get it if you do a sponsored place like a Starbucks or a Sprint. Or something.
that's what I've heard, and we did not. There weren't any. Most of those around us are Pokestops. They're not gems. Like there's like one that's a gem, but I mean like.
Yeah.
You know, this weekend there wasn't a raid around there that it seemed like that we were able to do. So I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's what I did too. And we also went to a. I think I'm talking about
Lazy Five Ranch.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Lazy Five Ranch, which is basically. Oh man, I forgot to see any pictures.
Yeah.
It's a place.
Yeah, I asked on air last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Guilty as charged.
It's okay.
So. I do have some pictures. We went there, petted some animals, smelled a lot of poop.
Yep.
Got in a wagon, rode around all day. They fed the said animals. There's even kangaroos, but like I was most excited to see the kangaroos.
Yeah.
But they were just napping.
Oh, that sucks.
They were chillaxing. Yeah, they just don't do anything.
Okay, so what animal was Aiden scared of?
None of them actually. He said for all of them.
None of them. Not a single
crazy.
one.
It's crazy because Aiden's just scared of a lot of things, but he was not scared of any of them.
Man.
At one point, his hand did get really, really slimy.
With like something.
He was feeding like an ox or something.
And just licked all over his hand.
Yeah.
That's
I think his favorite were the sheep, though. He loved the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to corroborate your story with Amberly, your girlfriend.
That's fine.
To confirm. Because she knows Aiden's a little scaredy cat.
He is.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. He's just a cautious child. He's just very cautious.
Very cautious. Yeah.
Don't want to eat anything too spicy for him. Doesn't want to get around any animals that could move suddenly.
It's strange, but he'll try a lot. He'll try everything.
That's good.
He'll try it.
That's
good. But he just he can be timid.
Yeah, it's okay. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him. He's just cautious.
So okay, other than Pokemon, what else do you do?
That was pretty much it. Watched football on Sunday, which was
that's exciting.
Yeah, I know you don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. But I do have something I want to talk about because we talked about going to F&M last week, and I know you didn't go to F&M. I ended up not going to F&M either because I just want to relax and do as little as possible.
Yeah.
Last weekend, but last weekend, something important thing about F&M is this week, F&M is officially switching to handing out foil double-sided tokens rather than like promotional cards, commons, uncommons, like it has been for a really, really long time, like years and years and years. And a lot of people were up in arms about this, saying, well, why would you give us that when you could give us these cards? And
yeah,
I think I'm in the minority, but and I'm not saying all tokens, but I prefer some double-sided foil tokens to some foil cards that you could get at FNM.
Well, what was the foil token this time?
There's 3 of them. They're all double-sided, and there's treasure on one side. And then one of them is a 2/2 pirate with menace. One of them is a 3/3 dinosaur with trample. And then one of them is a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. All right. They're the tokens in Ixalan. But they all look pretty cool. And they're foil, which look nice. They have the little stamp, like the little rare stamp. And then they're double-sided with treasures on the other side. And I believe they're going to switch like every season. So even if you don't want these, like this is better to me than like Servo Exhibition or, another card that like no one's going to play with. And I know people are going to say, but we're going from Fatal Push to these. Yes, you are. You're going from the best removal spell printed since Path to Exile to a token. But let's not forget all of the other 11 months prior to this, all of the other winners of cards that you received during F&M. Yes, there was Aether Hub. I understand that. But for the vast majority, they're not the cards are not very good. As someone who buys Magic cards for a living, literally this is part of I am the acquisitions manager for Star City Games. I see a lot of bad tokens that we buy as bulk, and a lot of them are FNM
Yeah.
cards because no one wants them.
Yeah.
They don't play them. They don't buy them. Good tokens like these are just more popular. More people want them, myself included in most cases, than all but the very best, all but staples in formats. If it's not a staple in a format, people don't want it. It's that simple. So
Yeah, these are used too. Yeah, these are used on, like, treasure is used, tokens are used. Being double sided makes it used even more.
yeah, definitely.
In case one side isn't used, the other side will be used. So it's kind of cool.
And on top of that, like even if sometimes if it's a standard playable card, tokens you can use all the time for other formats you use for a long time. So I'm in the prefer double-sided foil tokens camp. I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but I'm just asking people to give it a chance, mainly because you got to.
Sure.
But that's the end of my little rant.
I'm on the. I wish FNM promos were just rares, playable rares.
Sure. And and people are like, well, why don't they just make all good cards? Yeah, of course, if they just made all good cards, I would prefer those. But that's just not the reality. So we should stop pretending like that is the reality.
Should be. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, moving on. So we are going to hop out for a second, and when we return, we're going to talk about the brand new Ixalan Standard.
Okay, Justin. So last weekend we had SCG's Dallas.
I've heard of it.
Which was you have you.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first major standard event with the Ixalan, and I wasn't that impressed. Personally.
Not impressed with what? What were you not impressed with?
Out. The decks. I was hoping to see more dinosaurs. I was hoping to see some of these sweet flip cards, like Primal Amulet or Dousing Dagger, whatever. Thematic Compass. I was excited for these flip cards and some sweet magic, but it was dominated mostly by energy, approach, and Robin Up Red. And then like some little God Pharaoh's Gift here and there. And that was basically just what we had before Ixalan.
Yeah. I mean, it's week one. Something we've talked about before.
Oh, I know.
When we talk about Hour of Devastation, like a lot of times for week one, unless there's an overwhelmingly powerful strategy that is in a set, people are going to defer to what last standard was. So the top 4 decks, and these are firmly the top 4 decks. Like, I don't even think there's anything else as far as like week one playability approached any of these was Sultai Energy, which is really a black-green Winding Constrictor energy mashup with blue in it, but definitely seemed to be the dominant type of that deck.
Yes.
So I think we can firmly say that even if you want to talk about the black-green decks, they all were essentially this Sultai energy deck, because this was the best version and most well-performing version of that type of deck. So Sultai energy, Teamer energy, and I put quotation marks around Teamer because now it's really 4-color energy, because it's Teamer, but it splashes the Scarab God, who we'll talk about more.
Yeah.
Blue-white approach, and Ramunap Red. With a sprinkle of God Pharaoh's Gift in there too, but a sprinkle only.
Yeah. So the top 8 was I just put all energy decks together. They're all basically the same thing, and they become much closer to each other as time goes on.
Yes. Totally agree.
So yes. So week one we had four people top 8 with energy decks. So like that's 50% of the top 8 was energy.
Yep.
Then we had 2 approach decks, 1 Esper Gifts, and 1 Ramunap Red.
Yeah, and gifts being God Pharaoh's Gifts.
Correct.
Just to be, because sometimes we say gifts. Whenever I think of gifts, I think of gifts ungiven, but that's on me. That's not on you people.
You're too old.
You don't have yourself to blame.
Too old.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, that is definitely a point I was going to bring up. So I'm glad you said it. Yeah, we have Sultai energy and we have Teamer energy. Teamer energy is splashing God Pharaoh's Gift. So, I mean, what is that leaving us? That's leaving us with what?
Teamer Human Energy isn't Sebastian Godfrey's gift.
Or not Godfrey's gift, Scarab God, sorry.
Yes, it's
The
fine.
Scarab God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately, even though they're like, I think these decks get really, they start melding together more and more as time goes on.
Correct.
So it's clear that there is an energy deck that is primarily green based, green and blue based. The amount of black is to be determined. The amount of red is to be determined. But yeah, those are basically energy based Scarab God decks is really what we're talking about.
Yeah. So Sultai Energy was popping up around Magic Online for a bit. I tested a really crappy version with it online. It was like nothing like this, but it played some of the new cards. And I could already tell it was good. And this is mostly because of Hostage Taker. Like that card is just for people that feel. Speaking of old, I'm not sure if you remember Faceless Butcher, but it's very similar to Hostage Taker, except Hostage Taker has an upside of where you can basically just cast a spell.
Yep.
And
something important to note, it did not really come up this weekend just because the metagame didn't call for it, but Hostage Taker can also take artifacts hostage, and you can play those too.
Yes. Yep.
Anyway, but you can continue.
Oh, I was going to say, so metagame gurus are the ones that I think the majority that, like, I'm sure other people came up with it too, but they're the ones that perform really well with it. And I think the biggest thing about it was they were able to play Hostage Taker on turn 5, steal your threat, then you try to remove it, and the Blossoming Defense, the Hostage Taker, untap, cast the threat they stole, and just gain card advantage. Like they basically counter your removal spell, play your best creature into the following turn.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty gross.
And not only that, once they cast the card off of the Hostage Taker, they try to aggressively trade off the Hostage Taker. Attacking, yes. Blocking, just remove it from play, put it into the graveyard, and then the Big Daddy comes around. The Scarab God.
Yeah. Yes.
And you rinse, repeat the cycle, and then it's like once Scarab God's in play for more than a turn cycle, it starts going real downhill for any deck.
Yeah, I mean, Hostage Taker is also just great because this may sound silly, but on turn 7, like if you have a Rogue Refiner, you can play Hostage Taker, exile your own Rogue Refiner, play Rogue Refiner, draw a card, get some energy, and it's basically like a 7 mana 2/3, but you also get a Rogue Refiner that has haste, because if you want, that Rogue Refiner can attack. So it essentially has haste or vigilance, I guess. But haste and vigilance.
Yeah.
So it's very versatile. It's a very good card.
Yeah, it's I mean it's powerful without
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
You know, it's we'll talk about Worlds in a second. But it was one of the cards we saw by far. I think without a doubt, the most played Ixalan card in winning decks this weekend. And I don't think it was close, honestly.
No, it wasn't. No.
But another card from Ixalan that did see a bunch of play, and this is a card you're really high on, is Search for Azcanta.
Yes.
Ali,
Hooray.
You specifically said people are going to start this as a 1 or a 2 of, and then it'll be a 3 of, then it'll be a 4 of.
Yeah, I still think that. I think people are getting used to. Like, I'm surprised people are actually playing 2 right now, because I think their gut reaction was to play 1.
You expected them to start with 1.
Yeah, but they probably playtested and like, oh, this card's pretty good. I want 2. Eventually, though, I think you just want 3 or 4, especially like the gift decks, because the gift decks can do some silly things with it. Like they can play it. They can play turn 1. Sorry, I'm blanking on the mill card. Minister of Inquiries.
Yes.
They play turn 1 Minister of Inquiries. Mm-hmm. Turn 2, they can play Search for Azcanta. At your end step, they can mill 3. They can untap, mill 3, mill the top card of the library, and it flips.
Yeah. On
turn 3, so they're ramping. They get this land to play, and they play another land, and it's just Like
It's actually that is. I mean,
it's a
honestly,
ramp spell
yeah.
at that
It's
point.
if you can turn like, and that is kind of the. I think that's the thing about these cards. These, growing rights. Well, that one's more obvious, but Search for Azcanta, Legion's Landing,
Hmm.
uh, the cheap ones.
Yes.
Ramping yourself. If you can turn this into a just getting another land. Um, Man,
It's huge.
it's massive, and of course, if you are able to play Search for Azcanta and ramp in a deck where you should not be able to do that, namely a
Exactly.
blue black deck, that's like it almost doesn't even matter what the rest of the card does, but
I
it
mean,
does
I
do
agree.
something.
Like, no, that's the thing. Like, you're basically getting a ramp spell. All these ones that are not in green are really good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Search for Azcanta is really good because it's not green and it ramps you in a control deck in a control deck basically, or some mid range deck. Even Legion's Landing ramps you in a mid range aggro token deck. Like, these are all very, very powerful. Just the ramp alone is almost worth it. The fact that they also do insane things on the other side is just awesome. Makes you want to play more.
you think that this is the best tool for blue control-y mirror matches?
Oh, absolutely. Um, you're you're basically drawing a card every turn. But better than that, like you're looking at once it flips, you're looking at you're basically digging through your deck. You'll find whatever you want, and in control, the matches tend to be pretty slow.
Yeah,
Especially if they're like approach matchups. Like usually the first person to flip and get a Azcanta, the Sunken Ruins, should be way ahead.
yeah, totally. Because then you can just play your control game of doing as little as possible on your turn, and literally drawing. You're casting impulse on your opponent's end step every turn without losing a card.
Yeah, I think people will start. They haven't yet, but I think they will start playing. Another card that will see more and more play as time goes on is Field of Ruin.
Yeah,
that should see more play as time goes on.
yeah. I mean, and it's probably that's the thing though. There's going to be a sweet spot in the metagame where people are not playing Field of Ruin yet, but
Yes.
people are the first people that decide to play multiples of Search for Azcanta. They're going to have a massive advantage in those type matchups where that card is good. And I think the thing is, like, I think that card is good in a lot more matchups than it seems to be, depending on how you set your deck up.
Yeah, I mean, I think Legion's Landing is also we're really going too. It's probably I don't know if it's the best one, but it's really close. It's top two. I think it's.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Growing Rights of Itlimoc is one that was really, really hyped up, and I think
I don't know why, but sure.
I know why, because on the back it's Gaia's Cradle.
Whatever.
I mean, yeah, no, honestly, yeah, you're kind of not wrong. Like Gaia's Cradle is when you have access to every different creature and card and magic. Gaia's Cradle is very good, but in a limited environment, where you have to work to get Gaia's Cradle, it's not as good. Either way, the two that require minimal effort, and the cheapest ones are the blue and the white one. So I agree that those are the top two. Unfortunately, I think the black one's pretty bad. It's good. The front side is good, but I don't know if you're. It's a weird matchup with the back, which turns into essentially a Diamond Valley.
But what's sweet with the back is like it's the only one where if you control the front and the back, you can control like they're not dead cards.
Yes.
Like drawing multiples of the other ones are like kind of like if you've already flipped one, it's kind of like a dead draw almost. Not a dead draw, like you'll get some minimal effect, but it's not that great.
Yeah.
But the black one is the only one that like is huge if you control both of them.
Oh, that's definitely true. Yeah, because you can, the more you literally can just start just churning through your deck.
Oh yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
and also it's a fantastic way to protect your, like me being a blue black control shell. It's a great way to protect your Scarab God from Hostage Taker, Cast Out.
All right, I'll sacrifice
Ixalan's
it.
Binding.
Gain 5 life. It's going to come back to my hand. That's more cards for me to draw.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
I do want to give credit. I'm looking through these lists. I do see Andrew Solano. Hope I didn't butcher your name. He got 18th place with Blue White Approach, and he is actually playing 4 Search for Osconta main deck. So
There you go.
high five, Andrew. You are the first.
He's on the front end.
I think so too. Yes.
Okay, so what about decks we didn't see? We talked a little bit about dinosaurs and vehicles last week, and those decks really just did not show up. Unfortunately, I mean, we both kind of expected that. I don't think that's a huge surprise. I will say I do think that dinosaurs, and I'm putting quotation marks around dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I think there are some of them that have the dinosaur creature type that are good and that you will see in the future. I just don't know if this is the dinosaur tribal deck that people think that it is.
I think Mardu also will see more play once people start playing Rune Raider. They're not playing Rune Raider yet, and that's a mistake. Like, you guys should be playing that card.
Yeah. I
think Mardu will pick up once you start playing that.
Yeah.
One more deck I want to talk about before we move on. Also, Zach Elsick did put a quote-unquote new deck in first place in SCG Classic that weekend, and he played Grixis Improvise. He got first place with that deck.
Yes, but that is mostly older. That is very few Ixalan cards. Not that matters, but it is a deck.
Oh, there's none. I think it has no Ixalan cards in it.
Yeah, I believe
outside of lands.
I believe that.
Yeah, outside of lands, it's literally all Kaladesh and Aether Bolt and stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy.
This is a good lesson. Everyone that's listening, don't take Sun Petal Grove and Friends for granted. These are excellent lands. They're very, very, very good. So please don't take them for granted.
They work really, really well with the cycle lands from Amonkhet.
Yeah.
Because they're both types.
Perfectly, so. In fact.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So going into the World Championships, are there archetypes that you think exist that we just didn't see?
I think ones that aren't fully explored. I think a really good one is going to be a token strategy. I think tokens beats all the energy decks and beats red, but struggles hard against approach. That's like its worst matchup, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I think tokens is like the sleeper deck.
Yeah, we have Anointed Procession, which is just a really powerful card. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It needs the right support around it, but it's definitely like a centerpiece deck type card.
It's mostly just Legion's Landing. That card is just
really powerful.
Good.
Yeah, that's probably one of the 3 best inevitability cards in the format. It's obviously not really seeing play right now because, like you said, the token strategy hasn't really revealed itself, I think, in the format. But that's a powerful card. There's a lot of other token makers.
Yeah.
So, and as we talked about, just being able to turn a card that has an effect into a land to ramp is, even in aggressive decks, if you have a way to use that mana, that is not a small thing at all.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, that thing flips fast. It can flip like early turn 3 or turn 4, and it comes play untapped, and it flips as soon as you attack. So like,
yeah, it just does. It just happens.
yeah, it's pretty good. So I think Rune Raider is still a sleeper. I think it'll pick up play once Mardu decks start playing it. I think tokens will pick up steam, and I'm really hoping that some kind of Primal Amulet deck takes off because that card is sweet.
Yeah, that card is sweet.
So we'll see. Yeah.
I still think that Charter Course it did see some play this weekend.
No.
But I think that card is, if we're going into a Hostage Taker Scarab God world, which I think that we are, I kind of think that's where we're going. I think Charter Course we'll start seeing more and more play.
Well, what's really good against Hostage Taker and Scarab God?
Hostage Taker and Scarab God?
Nope.
Yes.
Tokens.
Tokens is good.
It's very good against the best strategy in the format. Like, I think tokens is a sleeper. We'll see.
Yeah.
We will see.
Yep. I think you're right. I also think getting real low with red real low. Just get real low. I don't know if you can do it,
No,
but if you can get low, you're probably in good shape.
I think they have to start splashing black, honestly, for Inventor's Apprentice and that type of style. Boomart Courier, Inventor's Apprentice.
Well, they're already playing
maybe something
Bomat
that makes
Courier.
it.
They're already playing Bomat Courier.
Yeah. And I think Inventor's Apprentice is the next step. You just have to include Scrapheap Scrounger so that your Inventor's Apprentice is turned on.
Yeah.
I think that's the next step. We'll see.
I think you could be right. We will see. World Championships start tomorrow. Tomorrow for us. We're obviously recording this a little bit early, but by the time most of you hear this, the World Championships will be in full swing. You have Ixalan Draft and Standard. Those are the only two formats. Standard is getting a lot of early attention by all formats, Star City Games and Wizards of the Coast. This is going to be good for them. This brand new standard getting a lot of attention early. I think they think the format is good, and if they're right, it's going to be great. But I hope they're right. I'll just say that.
Me too. I really hope Worlds brings up some new strategies, not outside of team energy, outside of energy decks, approach and gifts or red. Like I really hope someone like comes up with something.
Just
sweet.
breaks it. Breaks the back open.
Yeah, I just want something. I want something new.
All right. Speaking of new, we have a brand new set of cards to talk about for one of my favorite formats, Commander. So we are going to be right back with our top 10 Ixalan cards for Commander. All right, Ollie, here's how we're going to do this. Since I am the expert, legally.
You are the expert.
Legally the expert. I'm going to give you my list from 10 to 1. You tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on these cards. And then I'll talk about all the cards I did not talk about and why they're not in the top 10. How's that sound?
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So for those of you following along at home, which is all of you, because that's all you
grab pen
can
and paper.
Yeah, please. And your protractor, if possible. Because we're going to be going around the world of Ixalan. So I'm going to start with Sanctum Seeker. And this is not one that I think that people are expecting me to put. Because I'm going to tell you ahead of time,
Wait, time out. People have their pens and papers out. First, I think you should go through 10 to 1 and then talk about the cards. People are ready to write this down, man. And also, I have to tell you why I think it's not good. And you have to contradict me. Because I think some aren't good.
Yeah, but you already have the list.
I do, but they don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to. No, they're not going to get that. They're going to go one by one.
Oh.
They're going to go one by one,
goodness.
and I'm going to write them down. Because then if they disagree, they don't have time to tell me. I'm not going to give them a chance to prepare their disagreement. Okay? I don't know how this works. I'm running the show, not them. As I like to say on Commander Versus, this is our show. Okay? You guys don't get to pick. You're just listening. Sanctum Seeker. This is going to be one of the only tribal-related cards on this list. Spoiler alert. It is a 3/4 vampire for 2 black, and it says whenever a vampire creature you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. While I think that Ixalan appears on the surface a little light for Commander, it's because of there's so many tribal-oriented cards, and I think this is the best one by a mile for any particular tribe. So I mean, for any tribe in Magic, of Ixalan, this is the best specific tribal-related card. I think this does the most for vampires as a tribe. If you're playing tribal vampires in Commander, this card is an immediate all-star in your deck without question. I think this card, the only reason it's number 10 is because it's strictly vampires, but I think it's completely insane.
Can I disagree?
Sure, if you can find a way.
I think the best tribe card in this set is Arcane Adaptation.
But that's not a specific tribal card. That's a generic tribal card.
Every tribal card. It's the Blue Conspiracy, but cheaper and better.
Well, first of all, the Blue Conspiracy is Xenographed because it costs 5.
Okay. Well,
and second,
this.
arcane adaptation is any tribe. I'm saying specific, like one that actually has a creature type on it, that names a creature type.
All right. You really think that card's good?
Sanctum Seeker? I think this card is insane. If you attack with 5 vampires, it doesn't matter who you attack. Each opponent loses 5 life. You don't even have to attack them.
Okay.
This card is rewards going wide, which vampires are now. That is kind of their theme in Commander. What they like to do is go wide. This card is you can literally one shot people without even attacking them with this card, and you don't even have to attack with it.
It says each opponent.
This card is crazy.
I was thinking, I was like, Brutal Horde Chief is a card that doesn't even do vampires. That card is like even easier to cast. It has more abilities. But it doesn't. It's not each player. It's only defending player.
Each opponent is the key here.
Gotcha. All right.
This card is not going to make friends, but it is outrageously powerful, and you gain a little bit of life, which vampires like to do. Okay, so count 1. If you guys are keeping track at home, go ahead and scratch out all that stuff Alec told you to write down, and just write Justin and Ali, and then do hash marks under our names to see who won the argument. So
who won the argument?
Hash 1 for Justin. Okay, moving on. Number 9, Vanquisher's Banner. This is a 5-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1, and when you cast a creature of the chosen type, draw a card. A lot like Arcane Adaptation, this is a general tribal card, so you can play it in any tribal deck, which makes it very powerful.
Much better in green decks, I imagine.
Yes, in some cases. So there's a lot to like about this card. One, it's a generic Glorious Anthem effect, which is fine, but that's nothing really special for a 5-mana artifact. But the big part about this card is whenever you cast a creature of the chosen type drawing a card, there's a lot of tribes that have difficulty getting card advantage, and this allows you to do it without having to play weird stuff. You can literally just play this and just keep playing your creatures out, and it'll continue to refill your hand.
Yeah, and you can you probably draw a dry whole deck with something as silly as Palancron.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to. Yeah, if you have Palancron and Mirari's Way, can you name Illusion, which is what Palancron is?
You get infinite mana and
infinite cards, draw your whole deck. Yeah, if you want to do that.
That's silly. If you want to be that person.
If you want to be that guy, you can be that guy. You can if you want.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any other reasons to think I'm wrong?
Well, I was gonna say another card, but the other card is your next card, so it's fine.
Okay. All right. #2 in the Justin column then.
What do you mean?
All right. Anyway, moving on. Number 8.
Because I'm agreeing with you.
Conqueror's Galleon.
I love this card, by the way.
Yeah, this is an Ali Aintrazi card for sure.
I want this card to see play in Standard.
Oh, I think it's too expensive. I think it's too expensive.
It goes in a ramp deck. It goes in our Promise deck, but it's just...
Yeah, but the thing is...
It's so powerful when you flip it.
Yes, it is. It costs... So this is a 4-mana vehicle. It's a 2/10 that costs 4 to crew. And all it asks you to do, it says, whenever you attack Conqueror's Galleon at end of combat, transform it. And when you transform it, it turns into a land named Conqueror's Foothold. It taps for a generic mana, a colorless mana. You tap 2 to tap it and loot. So you draw a card, discard a card. You tap 4 and tap it, draw a card. You tap 6 and tap it, and you regrowth any card from your graveyard to your hand. This is obviously an artifact, so it's going to see play all over the place. It's very slow, but that's never stopped any powerful effect in Commander before.
This card, oh my god, this card. I'm broke a small tangent because this card.
Go.
My mind's being exploding here. Okay.
Okay.
I have to talk about it. Like Conqueror's Foothold, if you can flip it in a blue-green shell, is so powerful, especially if you're ramping because you have access to use it. Like you can lock people out with Haze of Pollen, which is a fog. You can lock people out with playing like a Disallow, just to counter 1 spell per turn. Mm-hmm. It's not legendary. This card is so good if you're ramping. The only problem is our Promise 2 does get you two zombies. So it's not outrageous. I think this card is. You know what? I'm gonna work on this deck, and I will.
All right, post the deck list for our Disciple of Bolus Patreon subscribers.
Okay, because this card is just log people out with fog because this returns any card. Any card.
Pick one.
All right.
It returns it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So obviously you're not disagreeing with me on this one, I assume.
I love this card.
All right. Mark 3 in the column for
Mark
Justin.
1 for Justin. Yep.
All right. Number 7. Tishana, Voice of Thunder. And this is who you...
Triple T.
Yeah. Thunder Thighs Tishana. I still don't...
Yes.
Anyway. This is the only legendary creature that I have on this list, and it is the one that I believe is the best for Commander. A lot like how Prime Speaker Zagana rewards you for going big with creatures. It wants you to have the biggest creature in play possible, so you can draw cards and make Prime Speaker gigantic. Tishana wants you to go wide and draws a card for each creature you have, and then its power toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. And you have no max hand size. Tishana costs 7, but some of the best commanders are ones that encourage you to continually cast them. And Tishana is it's great because she's going to be huge, so you're going to want to make sure she gets off the board, because 7 is a magical number in Commander. You only need 3 hits to take someone out with commander damage, but you're not going to want to put her back in the command zone because you're already playing blue-green, so you're going to be ramping. Being able to cast her again and draw even more cards is something. I promise. When people first see this card cast, they're just gonna be like, okay, whatever. And then over the course of the next few turns, they're gonna be like, I really need to get rid of that because it's really big and it's like abyssing all my creatures. But if you get rid of it, the next time it gets cast, it's even better, and so on and so on and so on. Like this is pretty much what you want from a 7 cost commander.
Do you know how Triple T was born?
No, please enlighten me.
Let me tell you.
Drop some knowledge.
So Regal Force and Morrow met at the Reliquary Tower. They had a good time.
Okay.
And left a little baby there, and that ended up being Tishana.
Wow.
Voice of Thunder.
I think that's canon, folks.
Yep, that is.
There you go.
Just so you know.
There you go.
Regal Force and Morrow, they were buddies, and they met at the Reliquary Tower. And they had a good time.
Yep.
And that's where Tishana comes from.
There you go. Okay. All right. Any reason you think I'm wrong on this one?
No, Blue Green, man. Simic. I'm all about Triple
Excellent. All right. 4 in the column for Justin.
All right.
Number 6, a card we've already talked about a lot this episode, Hostage Shaker. The big thing for this one is a completely different reason than from Standard, like wildly different. And that is the fact that in blue-black, you can steal artifacts and cast them. So it allows you to take away a card type that traditionally blue and black have a very, very difficult time interacting with. Enchantments and artifacts.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Yeah, it's so weird they gave it to Hostage Taker, but yeah.
It really is. So being able to take your opponent's Gilded Lotus, even the Soul Ring, blue and black lets you bounce, reanimate, do all sorts of shenanigans. And Hostage Taker is going to take it's going to take creatures too, but it's going to take a lot of artifacts. This card is literally, I mean, of all the cards on this list, this is one of the 3 cards that even though it's number 6 on the list because it's a 2-color card, this is a staple in every blue-black commander deck until the end of time, period. Like, I actually can't envision a deck that does not want to have access to this card.
Thankfully, it's not legendary.
Yeah. But yeah, this card is going to be as insane in Commander as it is in Standard. If you don't have yours yet, you probably missed the boat on getting a cheap one, but you will play with this card forever, so it is a good investment. If you're just kind of one of those players that just gets 1 copy for Commander, if you have this, you will use it. You will not have a deck that has blue and black mana that you will not use this card. I promise you. I promise. All right, why am I wrong?
No, this card's good.
All right, 5 in the Justin column. All right, moving right along. We're doing great. Number 5.
You're picking all cards I like. All cards I would definitely play.
Number 5, Ranging Raptors. This is a 2/3 for 2 and a green. and it has Enrage. Whenever Ranging Raptors is dealt damage, search your library for a basic land, and put it on the battlefield tapped.
Oh, look, another Ali card.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is why. Yeah, you should like Commander. It's a bunch of Ali cards. Ranging Raptors doesn't look like it does a lot, but if you have any sort of way, in green it's going to be difficult because you don't have a ton of ways to deal your own creatures damage. But in artifacts, in red, even in black, being able to ping your own stuff at small intervals concurrently, if you're able to even deal this card 2 or 3 damage over the course of a couple turns, that is a massive payoff for a single 3-mana card is ramping that much. For something that's really important Commander, which is putting a lot of lands into play, this thing does it at a really high clip, and it's you can find a lot of ways to deal this single damage. Walking Ballista, Triskelion, Goblin Bombardment, even in black, like Kumbaj Witches. There's literally all sorts of
Staff
stuff.
of Nin.
Yeah, Staff and Nin. Like there's a ton. There's a lot of artifacts. You can fit it into whatever green X deck you want, even if it's just mono green. And this card's also really annoying. It's an excellent blocker against like smaller creature strategies. It really that is allowing someone to ramp really dissuades them from attacking. I can't express that enough.
No, I remember the card. Remember the card Viridian Emissary?
Yeah,
it was a 2-cost 2/1. When it died, you get to get a land.
A single land.
This thing is like that, but you can abuse it, and it also has 3 toughness. Like, I think it's great. Also, if you have a way to give it indestructible, you can like Contamination, for instance.
Keep going.
Or you can. Saw someone talk about earlier. You can Valakut Multi-Pinnacle and get all the mountains out, and just keep dealing at 3 with Valakut. Get all the mountains out of your deck.
If you're playing black, you can have Pestilence. You can just deal it up to 2 damage every turn.
Oh, that's what I meant. Not Contamination, Pestilence.
And then red has Pyrohemia, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
So this card's awesome. This is my personal. I think my personal favorite card from the set is Ranging Raptors because it's just so small and it looks innocent, but it's not.
It's not. No.
All right.
Raptors are not innocent.
All right. Any disagreement?
No, it's a great card.
So good. Six in the column. All right. Number 4, River's Rebuke. This is a sorcery. This card sounds lame, but it's a sorcery for 3 blue, and it says return all non-land permanents target player controls to its owner's hand.
It's 4 blue, by the way.
4 blue, not 3 blue. I knew it cost 6.
It's 4 blue.
Yeah. So 4 blue. This is a bad Cyclonic Rift, which is really good. Because Cyclonic Rift is arguably the best blue card in Commander. It's one of the top 3. This card literally, you are picking a player to essentially have them start over from 0. And the reason this is extremely powerful, even compared to Cyclonic Rift, is this is a card that lets you say to the other players, "Hey, we need to really work on this guy because he's taken us to town." And instead of drawing a bunch of attention to yourself and Cyclonic Rifting, where you get 3 people mad at you or however many other players in the game, you're just shotgunning someone and saying, "No, look, if I return all of his permanents instead of yours, you guys worry about him." This is a great. This is an insane political card, and you can literally just you could just take someone out. The fact that it's a sorcery and only targets 1 player, I actually think plays into its advantage in real life situations because you're allowed to. It allows you to be very honest and say, "Look, I have to play this card now as a sorcery, so there's no tricky stuff. I can only target 1 player, so nothing tricky with that. So I'm declaring my intentions, following through on my intentions, and then you guys can do the rest." I think political cards like this are really powerful.
Sure. I think it's card sweet in Standard too. People know I love Simic cards, and I did play a Crushed Tentacles deck for a while there with Crushed Tentacles, Ulamog, and stuff. And what's great about this card is same cast as Crush, 6 mana. Sure, you don't get the token, the 8 token, which my thing is huge, but it wasn't that big in that deck. Like, you'd have to play a spell before it and then pay 5, like
Yeah.
to balance everything. But this thing doesn't bounce your stuff, so you can play it with conjunction with Planeswalkers or Bounty of Luxa, where if you did that with Crush, it was kind of counterintuitive because you bounce your own stuff back to your hand. But now you can play Bounty, draw a card, and the turn you get extra mana, you can just rebuke them and then play another Bounty or whatever. So it's kind of cool.
Because Crush of Tentacles, you had to return your own stuff too.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's why Bounty of Luxa was not that great with Crush, but River's Rebuke is actually
Very good.
very good with Bounty of Luxa, or with Planeswalkers, or with enchantment, or with things that like Gifts of Paradise. So,
okay, well, needless to say, mark another hash in the Justin column. So we're up to 7. Okay, my top 3. I think these 3 cards are they're kind of in a class of their own as far as Ixalan cards for Commander. I think there's a big discrepancy between the other 6 on this list and all the other cards and these 3 cards. So without further ado, number 3 is arguably the most fun card in the set, and that's Revel in Riches. This is an alternate win condition card, a black one. It's an enchantment for 4 generic and a black. And it says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a treasure token into play. And during your upkeep, if you have 10 or more treasures, you win the game. This is another excellent political card because you can kind of control the flow of the game by getting a lot of advantage. And if you sacrifice the treasures to prove that you're not trying to win with it, you can really put yourself ahead just by putting things that are difficult for your opponent to deal with into play, and essentially letting them kind of fight their own battles, and then eventually casting Damnation or something similar, killing a lot of creatures at the same time, and then making it difficult for opponents to destroy all of your treasures and then just win on your upkeep.
Shame.
Yeah, I think this is
sneaky.
I think that is a thing that's going to happen a lot. So it might make people really be scared of this card when they see it, which is probably going to be appropriate, but it's so easy to just continually sack the treasures as you get them to gain advantage, to make yourself not appear as a threat. It's difficult for alternate win condition cards to always be good because they really paint you in a way that makes you the first that's going to get targeted. And I think this is one that is extremely powerful, but you have the ability to not do that, to not paint yourself in a way because you're kind of controlling the narrative with how many treasures in play at any one time.
I think that's sweet. Also great. And the more players you are playing, like if you have group of 4, it seems fantastic.
Yes, and no. I think there's kind of a sweet spot. I think if it's too many players, then it's not going to work as intended because you're going to get. I think people recognize that. So I think if you're playing with 2 or 3 other people, I think that's kind of the sweet spot of making this card really good. All right. Another hash in the Justin column. My number 2 card is even better than this one. And I think the number 2 and number 1 card are actually pretty close. The number 2 card is a card that I think a ton of people are sleeping on, and I think this card is completely insane. Legitimately insane. And Ali, I know that you love this card as well.
Yeah. I
do.
do.
That is Sunbird's Winvocation.
Appropriate name.
Let me tell you, after you play with this card, no one will ever call it Invocation again. It's the Winvocation. This is an enchantment for 5 generic and a red. And it says, whenever you cast a spell from your hand, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost, and then play one of them for free without playing their mana cost that costs that or less. And put the rest on the bottom of your library.
Yeah, this is... Yeah.
The amount of mana and card advantage this card can accrue over the course of a game is completely outrageous if it stays in play for anything more than anything more than a turn.
I remember I messaged you. I was like, "Hey, I'm building this five color
Yes, you did.
this 5-color deck. I want to play dragons. They're sweet, and I really want to play Maelstrom Nexus. This card is awesome, you know. And Summer's Vacation is like Maelstrom Nexus is the first spell you cast each turn.
Yeah.
Summer's Vacation doesn't care if it's the second spell, third spell. Like so, Nexus you can play on turn 5, and then you can't follow it up with anything if you have more mana. With Invocation, you definitely can.
Yeah.
And Nexus also costs 5. It costs a lot. I mean, 5 of every color.
Yeah, one of every color. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, one of every color. Yeah. Yes.
And Sunbird's Windication costs one more, but it's just red, and you can use colorless mana, which is massive.
And its ability is stronger than Cascade
by a lot.
It's a strictly better Cascade.
Yeah, one because you can hit equal too. So if you cast a 7-drop, you can get another 7-drop for free.
And you pick. The selection is really what makes this card completely insane. Yeah. Put this in your Maelstrom Wanderer decks. Put this in all your big red decks.
Or just red decks. Seriously, this card is like if this is the number one card. If you don't own it, just buy it now.
Yeah, luckily it's not mythic, so
it's not. It's just a rare. I mean, this is honestly like a bulk rare right now. But I think this card is a crazy commander card. I'm not overselling this. I swear to everyone, this card is insane. I've read some commander lists that don't even have this in the top 10, and don't listen. Listen to me, please, for your own sake. You need to be the one on the giving end of this card. Don't be on the receiving end when you see this for the first time.
Also, play Mirage Mirror too with this card.
Yeah, okay. You should play Mirage Mirror with everything. To be clear,
that's true.
Yes, especially with this card.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1.
Mark 1 for the Ollie column first.
You know what, Ollie? You talked about that card first. You get 1.
Thank you.
And the number 1 card for Ixalan in Commander is Growing Rights of Itlamok. This one's simple. This is Guy's Cradle.
Ew.
I mean, I don't honestly like it's. Guy's Cradle is one of the best cards in all of Commander. Period. I don't think people that have seen that card on the battlefield can dispute that. That card's like $300 because of Commander, because it's so good. This is Guy's Cradle. You need a very, very, very small amount of effort to flip it, because 4 creatures in Standard or Modern might be a lot. 4 creatures in Commander that's Tuesday, you know? That's not a big deal.
This card isn't too exciting for me, but
it doesn't need to be exciting. It's powerful.
Yeah,
it's powerful. I mean, when you play it, it's Oath of Nissa. Except you look at the top 4, you get a creature to help you get going. And then as soon as you have 4 in a turn, this flips. You have another Guy's Cradle. And even if you get swept, this still can tap to add a green.
That is true.
It doesn't need to be exciting. This is a forever. This and Sunbird's Windication are the 2 staples for any time you have a single color. Any green deck is going to play this. I think most red decks should play the Windication too.
Before people scream at us, Growing Rights of Itlamok only get creatures, not lands, like Oath Nissa could.
Yes, sorry, it's just for creatures, but that's all you're going to care about. All right.
It'd be sweet if we got lands too.
It would be, but you're not going to need lands because this is a land. It's a great.
All right.
All right, that's my list. It's a good list.
All right. Good list.
Yeah. All right.
But
I'm going to talk about some cards really briefly that I did not put on the list. Axis of Mortality, switching life totals at the beginning of your upkeep. That's fine. Going to draw a big target on your head. That's a shenanigans card. When people see shenanigans cards, they react. So. No, if you're putting this in your deck, you're doing so because you want it to serve a very specific purpose. So just be wary that you might die in short order when you play this. Dire Fleet Ravager. Ollie, this was your preview card. This is going to paint a big target on your head too, because you're taking a third of people's life total, and they're not going to like that very much. Gishath, Sun's Avatar. This is the de facto, probably forever, dinosaur commander. It's a big 8-drop. It is a dinosaur card. It is very good, But the dinosaurs right now are not great, and you have to play a lot of bad dinosaurs to make this card good. So maybe 5 years from now, when there's way more good dinosaurs, this card's way better. But today, it's just okay.
Not today.
Vona, Butcher of Magan. This is a black-white vampire. This is a pretty sweet one. This probably works better as a card in the 99 than it does as a commander, which is fine. It lets you get rid of problematic permanents at the cost of 7 life. You can only do it during your turn, which limits it a little bit, although it's completely understandable. Still a sweet card, but doesn't make my top 10. Boneyard Parlay is a 7-drop sorcery, 5 black, and you factor fiction graveyards. This is one we talked about on our Ixalan review episode with Emma Handy. I think this is a big, powerful effect for black, but I don't think it cracks the top 10, even though it is really cool. Field of Ruin is a very good one for the land destruction family, right along with Tectonic Edge, Wasteland, Strip Mine, Ghost Quarter. It ramps everyone, which can be annoying, but it ramps you too. So for those that are more concerned with making sure you don't lose your own lands when you're destroying opponents' lands, this is a good card to slot.
It doesn't really ramp.
What now?
It doesn't really ramp you. It just keeps you the same parity.
Well, yeah, you're going down and then you go back up.
I mean, they're going down, going back up too. So like,
well, no. What about the players you don't target?
Oh, this is each opponent?
Yes, it is. And
gotcha.
we're playing Commander, you're ramping 2 other people probably.
Gotcha. Okay. No.
And then the last one is the Thematic Compass. This is the Journeyer's Kite that turns into a Maze of Ith. And I don't like this card because the Maze of Ith is not legendary. I don't like having multiple of these. I already don't like Maze of Ith. Now, that granted, that is a thing that is benefiting the card, not the other way around, but still. I think this is a good card. I just don't think it's fine. It's just fine. It's slow.
All right.
That's it. Those are all my commander cards I want to talk about.
You missed my boy.
What?
You missed my boy, Fleet Swallower.
Fleece? Oh, Fleet Swallower? That's a mill card.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about that.
Card is sweet.
If you're trying to mill people, which you shouldn't.
You just attack and kill them, mill them out.
Well, you can't kill them.
All right, you play Frank Sandy, then attack with
Don't do that. Why would you? Don't encourage people to mill.
Guys,
listen. Not encourage people to mill.
Justin is like the millfish. Play the millfish against Justin.
Do not do that. Look, I'm generally playing black. I will not die to the millfish. Okay.
You know what? I'm just throwing the millfish in my deck.
No, you won't.
I'm not even playing. Not even playing against you. Before we play, I'm going to take a card out and put the millfish.
You'll regret that. Look, if you're only milling me half, I can use my graveyard. Okay.
All right.
I'm just saying.
We'll see. I want to attack then exile it. Like that?
No, you won't. You won't do that. Don't you threaten me. First. Hey, I won this 9-1. Okay.
All right.
When history looks back, that's what it'll remember.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. I think we spent enough time on Commander. Guys, if there's cards you think that I missed, or that you want to agree with me on all 9 of the cards that I was 100% right on and Ollie was wrong on, make sure to hit me up on Twitter at jparnell1, and you can tell Ali Aintrazi at Ali Aintrazi how wrong he was about everything that he vehemently denied that was going to be excellent Commander. Yeah. It's on the tape, Ollie. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, we're going to move on.
It is on the record.
We're going to jump out real quick, and we'll be back with this week's Magic Story, something else entirely.
Yay!
What was that? That was the
story.
Saddest yay I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I can't be too loud.
Oh.
I'm monotone. I'm Ali Aintrazi. I can't be like, I can't scream it.
Yeah, but that was like a.
All right, let's do it again.
Okay.
Yay!
That's better. See, that's a good start. All right. Now, what are you yaying about?
Okay. We're back to Vraska and Jace's story.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. That was a yay for me too. They're by far the most entertaining thing going on in Ixalan right now.
which is crazy because when we first read this, we were like, whatever, Jace, poop on Jace. So
Yeah, we were poo-pooing Jace for sure.
yeah, we were. Okay, this story is actually pretty sweet.
Hit us with the recap.
Yeah, it reveals a lot. So, Pirate Jace and Vraska, they appear to be, they're basically just sailing around Ixalan still. They're still sailing around Ixalan doing pirate stuff, and they appear to be bonding more and more. They're becoming more friends and closer.
Much closer.
Much closer. Vraska actually opens up to Jace a little bit, and she tells him what they're doing. So she basically tells him, "Hey, I'm working for a person called Lord Nicholas."
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas.
That's a regular name. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And he will make me the leader of the Golgari if we find this thing that he wants. I go back and give it to him, and that's what I want to do. Jace is like, "All right, cool. That's kind of what I want to do. That mean, like, I want to help you. You look cool. I like you.
Yeah.
Let's do this."
Yeah.
And then Jace also he's asking Vraska questions like, where are we from? About me. And then Jace starts discovering that he keeps hearing whispering throughout this whole story. And at the end, Vraska's like, "Yeah, you can read minds." He's like, "Oh wow, why don't you tell me?" She's like, "Because I don't want you reading my thoughts without permission." And so he realizes he can do that. He realizes he can turn it off. He realizes how delicate minds are. Like, they're basically cobwebs, he can destroy them. And he asks Vraska, have I destroyed someone's mind before? And Vraska says, can you redeem yourself if I tell you about that? And they just have a very, very, opening talk about themselves, their story, their background, and where they're from. And they bond. They bond a lot.
I like when Jace asks Vraska, Vraska's not like, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say you can't do it. I'm just saying maybe. What do you think, Jace?
So they do that, and then towards the end of the story, Jace basically tells them about the compass. Jace takes the compass. He's looking at it. We've talked about before how he's taken apart the telescope and reassembled it. So he takes apart the compass, and he notices there's a little gear out of place. He puts it back in, puts the compass back. He tries a planeswalk because he's trying to read the compass, and he's he can't planeswalk, and the Ixalan symbol appears above his head, and the compass points at him, and he realizes that it's attracted to large energy, and his theory is that it's going to point to the Golden City, and the Golden City is a place with a vast and huge amount of energy. And he goes back on the ship, and he's about to tell Vraska before he can. There's a huge ship of vampires heading their way. It's stormy. Vraska's like, "Yo, get in bottom deck, go hide. Storm's coming." And they get under, and then Vraska's like, "Okay, quick, abandon ship, because there's huge waves crashing into the belligerent, which is the ship. There's a huge wave that crashes into it, hits a rock. We're assuming destroys the ship, and that's in the story. And the art they show is River's Rebuke, so it could be the time where Thunder Thighs is trying to destroy the vampire ship, and she's obviously causing chaos in the water, and the belligerent's there too, and it probably hurts the belligerent as well.
Yes, yeah. I think this is confirmed due to the art, because they showed River's Rebuke last time as well. That this links up matches up with the end of last week's story, which is the Shapers. So,
actually, you're right, because Coppola, the evil one, he
Kumena.
Kumena goes and he wants to destroy the pirate ships because he says, "Hey, I heard the pirates are after Golden City." He tells her that in that story.
Yep.
He tells her about that, and in this story, he does overhear Jace and Vraska talking about the Matic Compass. Jace hears him psychically or telepathically. Yes. So yeah, you're right. They definitely are tied.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, this is. I think there's a lot, not not just narratively, not for the Ixalan narratively specifically, but I think there is a ton to unpack in this story. The part where Jace and Vraska are talking when they're in the pub, there's a lot there. There's a lot more than that's just on the surface for that story.
Yeah, it's like a transformer. More than meets the eye.
Yes. So, you talked about kind of the link between Jace and Vraska, and obviously they make it, there's nothing that's veiled about that in this story. They make it clear through the narrator that they both care for each other a lot. They make some pretty clear references to it, specifically for Jace, talking about how he thinks Vraska's beautiful and noting her thoughts. They specifically talk about Vraska's facial expressions a ton, like an absolute ton, about Jace noticing them. And then Vraska admiring how Jace is moving and thinking, and basically how she appreciates how his mind works. Not in a way, not magically how his mind works, but just how he thinks about stuff, how he perceives her, how he perceives things around them, the world in general.
This is definitely the way Jace and Vraska were talking. It's very much like when two people come to get together and they're talking about their life and who they are and how they feel like being down and not good, and the other person is like, Jace brings her up, but he's not doing it in a fake way. He's being genuine.
It's this is the crazy thing about Jace in this story, or just in general for the whole Ixalan story arc, is he's genuine completely. Yeah. Not only is he genuine, it is almost impossible for him to not be genuine. He doesn't even know. That's not something he knows yet. This is notable because this is a very big change from the other Jace that we know, the pre-Bolus battle Jace.
Yes.
Where he is literally is the least genuine. You don't know anything, what he's thinking, what he's feeling. You don't know any of his motivations. Even when he's talking with his teammates in the Gatewatch, he asks for a lot of trust. That's something that he said frequently to them. He's just, I have a plan. Trust me, trust me, trust me. But he doesn't want to speak and tell and say his emotions.
I want to say real quick too. This might come to a surprise for you, but this is my favorite Magic story so far.
Oh man, I think this is in my top 3. So it actually does not come as a surprise.
It's in your top
3.
What?
Top 3.
Top 3. Yeah. I think this is my first one. It's mostly because of the way Vraska and Jace actually interact. I'm not doing this often, but I just would really like to say an excerpt, where it is from the story. So real quick, Jace is talking to Vraska. He's like, to ruin a mind is to deliver a fate worse than death, I imagine. He said, you're asking if there's redemption for those who kill. Vraska says, I suppose so. So Jace chooses his words carefully. He says, existence is adaptation to changing circumstances. The self is an accumulation of what one has learned from those changing circumstances. Our agency gives us the means to alter our own path. You are who you decide to be, and who you will become depends on only how you choose to adapt. And throughout, there's another one too, where Brett's how people see me. I'm gonna go back, and people are gonna see me as this ugly person that just did all these bad deeds. And Jace even says he goes, Vraska, you get to decide how they see you. She looked at him with uncertainty. Jace says, how we engage with the world is dependent on how we present ourselves to it. We are continuously adjusting to change because if we fail to change, we fail to survive. By nature of you surviving the hell you did, you have changed into someone wiser than before. By nature of you commanding the ship, you've transformed yourself into the leader you always knew you could be. And it's just this is very things that Vraska has never heard before ever. And she's a killer, she's an assassin, and Jace sees all these things in her that are there, but she doesn't see because she doesn't she has low self-esteem, like super low self-esteem.
Yes.
Yeah, and the last one is this is the one that hit me personally pretty hard because it means a lot to me too. He says, "What makes you you isn't your circumstances or your past, but the choices you make in the future. Your ability to learn and adapt is what makes you who you are today, and that is what dictates who you will continue to be, who you will continue to become. Vraska, your greatest vengeance is the fact that not only are you alive, but you reinvented yourself into someone stronger than your captors ever thought possible. Do you realize how incredible that is?" Vraska was smiling and a bashful smile. It reached the creases of her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. So, like, all these things, like, he's basically... Vraska sees herself as a shitty person. And Jace is like, "You're not. Like, look all these things you've done. Look what you're doing now. How can you possibly see that? Like, look what I see in you." Like, Jace sees all these amazing things in her, and he's being genuine. And that excerpt just tells me for sure that Vraska is going to have more than just friendship feelings toward Jace, and Jace obviously feels that towards Vraska because the way he's talking about her, how he sees her, how he perceives her, how he thinks so highly of her, means that he's falling in love with her.
Yeah, and through the story, I mean, I think this is, as far as the interaction between two characters, I think this is the most well written Magic story, to the point of, this seems crazy. The only reason that this seems like a Magic story is because they're using the words Jace, Vraska, Golgari, Ravnica.
Yeah.
But it seems like everything seems very organic with the connection that they're making, and more importantly, the connection that the readers feel for each of these characters. Because I said not long ago that I did not care for Jace, and they were going to have to do a lot to make me care about him. And they, like, with this story, they got to that point, which shocked me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I actually had down a couple of excerpts as well that I'm not going to read, but I'll kind of just talk about the parts of the story. This is, like I said, there's so much to unpack in this story. And they cover a lot of ground about Jace and Vraska specifically as people. And one thing, a big part of this story is Vraska describing some of her time as a person. It doesn't matter that she was a Gorgon. Well, it does for the point of the story, but just a person on Ravnica and how she was treated. Essentially, because she was a Gorgon, she was assumed to be part of the Golgari when they were being assumed to be scum and beneath the rest of the guilds in Ravnica. And a lot of the Golgari were locked up.
And basically criminals.
They were criminals. They were locked up and literally almost beaten to death for nothing.
Yeah, in this story, they're the guards. She talks about how the guards are saying, well, they live in the sewers underground. They don't need light, so why do we need to give them light in prison? Why do they need food? I mean, they live in sewers. They probably eat rats. Why do we need to provide anything for them or anything of substance?
And this story, and this is something that we'll come back to because inevitably we'll go back to Ravnica from a narrative perspective. And this story paints the Azorius as the most hideous monsters in the entire multiverse. Yeah. And I don't even think that's debatable if you're a human being with a heart. Vraska, to me, after reading this story, she is the most real character that they've ever had narrative about in Magic story.
Oh, I agree. I mean, this story made her one of the top 3, my favorite characters or planeswalkers in Magic history, if not the first. Her story is pretty amazing, and it's heartbreaking. There's literally a part where, I guess I'll read this excerpt
and this is when
Go ahead.
Vraska's talking about the time that part of the kind of the end of when she was imprisoned in the in Ravnica by the Azorius, and she had just talked about how she had been beaten and eventually was blindfolded, so she couldn't petrify the people that were capturing her. Vraska's golden eyes had a faraway look to them. You lose track of time in a place like that. Eventually, they took me away, locked me up alone in a room with no cot and water up to my ankles. The beatings continued, and whatever wounds they left would stink with infection for weeks after the fact. When they eventually took the blindfold off, I thought about trying to petrify myself to make it stop, but I wanted out more than I wanted to end. This is, for sure, the only time, I mean, we're essentially talking about a character considering suicide and is going through the clearly depression is what they're addressing. Yeah. She continues on. I remember the night I nearly died. I was bloodied and broken. I knew that with one more hit of the head would do me in. My body knew what to do. I used magic I'd never used before to escape. The place I escaped to was a prison too. I was trapped there, alone, for quite some time. Just me and all my memories of the source of all of that cruelty. Even in the time when Vraska is actually describing when her spark ignited and she first turned into a Planeswalker, which is when she's saying, I'd use magic I'd never used before to escape. The fact that we're to the point in this, in the writing of this magic story, that planeswalking isn't the focal point when the story, because they don't address where Vraska planeswalked to, and it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. Of course, do we ultimately want to know? Yes, because that's kind of what this story is about. Is we're reading about characters that can travel to these other places and do these magical things.
I am curious how she planeswalked to another place that was a prison. That is intriguing to me.
Here's the thing. I think this is I don't think that she means a literal prison. I think what she means
I know.
She was alone with her thoughts after being on the verge of suicide. And, as I think actually this week is mental health awareness week. And it's important to note that bringing this up in a magic story, one, is extremely brave by Wizards. But two, having a character that people can relate to on a actual real life level, is just, it's kind of incredible. And, I'm not trying to go too deep on this subject, but, the connection that Vraska makes with everyone, any readers of this story, and of course in the story with Jace, as Jace is going through this and is trying to understand, because this is the first time he's encountered anything of this seriousness and of this magnitude that he can remember anyway. And how he reacts is very genuine and very real, and it makes you care about Vraska as a person. She talks about when she came to Ixalan and how happy she was because she could be whatever she wanted to be, and that was a pirate. The fact that she was a Gorgon did not matter at all. Literally completely irrelevant. No, not only is it irrelevant, it's literally never come up. She's a pirate. And people are upset. People don't like her because she's a pirate. That's like the best thing in the world to her. The fact that she's a Gorgon, she's not viewed as any particular way. She got to pick who she wanted to be. Her race didn't matter. And that's another thing. I think you can draw some pretty easy analogs from the Azorius mass arresting members of the Golgari. And then, of course, Vraska, because she was a Gorgon, they thought she was Golgari even when she wasn't. I I mean, there's a lot of racial overtones
Oh, I agree.
with how this story is written, and there's a lot. If you live in America or even other places around the world, that is something that is a really big, important thing to be thinking about right now. And they don't say it directly. Obviously, they're using Azorius and Golgari as kind of placeholders, so to speak. But I don't want that to get lost in this part as well. But Ollie, I'll let you talk for a second. I'm gonna blow my nose. My nose is running a little bit, getting a little emotional talking about this story. So
You crying a little bit? No, I think this story is again great. I think it's probably my favorite. I'll say it's my favorite story that I've read from Magic, and even comparing this love story between, like, comparing it with like, obviously we knew Jason and Liana had a thing, but their relationship was like almost, I would say almost toxic.
Their relationship was built on lies and deception.
Yeah, so basically like toxic, and like no one, like we don't even know how they really felt about each other. We don't even know like what exactly was going on or how it started really or where it was going. It was very up in the air. And then we look at this one and it's just like, I mean, you can kind of draw a line too because they're both black planeswalkers. Sure, Vraska has green hair too, but it's just crazy that, like, they're similar in some ways, but obviously Liana was hurt too. But Vraska, like the way Vraska turned out is compared to Liana is just different, and their bonding is just,
it's real. It's real.
Yeah, it's genuine. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. It's and I like parts of the story. You can see Jace getting parts of his memory back, kind of, and I'm just waiting for. It's gonna be a big hit when I think when he finds out, like, he gets the memories back, then he has his memories of what he's done now, and I wonder what's gonna happen. Like, I wonder if he's gonna be like completely wiped, or if he'll get his memories back, and then how he'll react then. You know? Yeah,
and I think there were a couple of parts in this story that he saw some memories.
Ajani? Yeah, I thought one was Ajani, but I'm not sure. He saw a lion. Or a lion face, something that reminded me of Ajani.
I think that was Alvaret. Who mind wiped him initially.
Okay.
Which is interesting because he forgot that when he got mind wiped.
Huh.
So, yeah, that's just a little. Let's just put that little nugget there for later. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what to make of it, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was, obviously intentional.
Yep.
I'm going to read another excerpt, a short one about Jace that I really enjoyed, and it's just like two sentences. They returned to an empty ship and sat on the deck in chairs Vraska dragged out from her quarters. They briefly spoke of returning town for debt and ale and cards and festivities, but decided the combination sounded a tad overwhelming and elected to stay home instead. This is talking about Jace. It's interesting because it seems pretty clear that Jace is an introvert, and it's such a nice little way in like a real life scenario for those of you out there that are introverts. You know that those type of things can easily be overwhelming, and it's just a nice little real life example of writing in this story, which in a story that is flush with real life, real life writing, which is great.
Analogy, like, this story had a lot of real life analogies or comparisons or connections, and it really brought the characters to life, and made you feel with them, empathize with them, and it just felt real.
And I think that's the big takeaway for me for this story for sure.
Yeah, amazing story. Highly recommend reading if you haven't read it. Like, even though we talked about it, if you are a person that is suffering with depression or has had depression, this is a good one to read.
I think this is. I mean, like Ali said, this is probably it's in my top 3. I don't know where it ranks as far as Magic story from a a writing perspective, this could be the best one. It's one of the best ones for sure. If you listen to this podcast and if you haven't read Magic Story before, this is a great time to start. This is a good one to get into. This will pull you in, make you legitimately care about characters, and is just done really, really well. And Ixalan's story is getting more interesting, but it's because of the writing. I don't think still the story itself, the overarching story, is that interesting yet. But man, I really care about Vraska a lot, and I care about Jace some now, which is more than none. It's a lot more than none, which is what I did.
It definitely. I mean, this story pulled at my heartstrings multiple times. So that's huge for any story at all.
Yeah, me too.
This one did it in like such a small. Like the story isn't like pages and pages and pages. Just like article length, and it did a lot. Like great story. Kudos to the writers again at Wizards, and awesome story.
Yep. I have two really short notes. Ollie, do you have anything else before I say mine?
No, I'm not. Nope, I'm good.
Okay. A.E. Marling, who is actually a flavor text writer for Wizards and a podcast listener, pointed out last week that the part of Vraska that's the most green that stands out is her protection of people. You do see that some more in this story where she's talking about being angry about being treated a certain way. But then, of course, you see her black about wanting to take action and kill people that deserve to be killed. So I thought that was notable. And 2 weeks ago, Vraska dropped the word asshole, which now we can say on the podcast because she said it first. And this week, Jace says goddamn. So now we can say goddamn on the podcast too.
Beautiful.
Yep.
We're evolving in so many ways.
They're opening doors for us. See?
Yeah.
Also, and on a serious note, they're using language like this in a really well-placed way to make the story more real, and it is. Because I would assume that people on a pirate ship would use language. They don't say, like cursing like a sailor.
Please pass me the cup
reason.
of tea.
So, okay. Ollie, anything else on this week's Magic Story?
No, I've said all my excerpts and what my thoughts on the story.
All right, buddy. Okay, we're gonna jump out for a quick, and we'll be right back to wrap up. All right, so as you guys know, we always like to talk about what we're doing this weekend. So I'll start with myself because I feel like Ollie's is going to be lengthier. But I'm going out of town to visit one of my friends, one of my close friends, Ian. He was my all-time two-headed giant pre-release partner, and we play some Magic together. We're gonna go play some disc golf. We're gonna prepare for Eternal Weekend, which is a Vintage and Legacy event that's coming up in a few weeks. And I know some of you guys want me to talk about Vintage and Legacy on the podcast. I promise when we get closer to that event in a couple weeks, I will for sure go over that. So don't fear, that talk is coming. I'm going to try to decide on my deck list this weekend so I can start actually getting those lists kind of trimmed down for those events. But that's an event I'm pretty excited about. I play a lot of Vintage and Legacy, so I'll update you guys with what I'm playing as we get closer to the event. Ollie, what about you?
Well, I talked before on the podcast how there was Nationals coming up and also the Open the same weekend. The Open is literally my backyard, and U.S. Nationals in Richmond, Virginia. I finally decided that I'm definitely going to go. I'm going to go to Nationals. I feel like I need to defend my title, as the forever national champion.
Not forever anymore.
So I'm going to win it, so it's going to continue. So I'm going to be prepping for that. I'm going to be testing Standard, and the list I am leaning towards the most right now is still a tokens list. We'll see obviously what happens after World, like this weekend, and what's going to happen at Worlds, and from there I can obviously tune or adjust, but I do think tokens is very well positioned. It's good against Scarab God. It's good against Hush Taker. By good, I mean those cards don't affect anything in your deck.
Yeah.
And the one I'm leaning towards is more of a Abzan tokens list. Abzan just for Vraska. Vraska lets you, if there's a mirror match, you can combat the mirror match by killing their stockpiles and their anointed processions. Also, you can destroy cast outs. And she also works very well with anointed procession because her plus and minus both make tokens.
Yeah.
So they both trigger.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep, and the deck already plays Renegade Map, which gets lands. Also triggers. It plays Renegade Map mostly for hidden stockpile because it triggers tokens. And then it also has Legion's Landing, which is another. We talk about how ramping was important and powerful. Yeah. So the deck has like, I think currently I have 23 lands and 4 maps. So it's kind of like 27 lands. Then you have 4 Legion's Landing.
Yeah, it's like they're like half lands. It's like 25 lands probably.
Yeah, they have 4 Legion's Landing, which is like a ramp spell kind of. So it's kind of a land, half land, maybe more half lands. Yeah. So it's exciting. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited about this deck. Excited about Nationals. The one thing I do need to test more is draft, and that's what I plan on doing.
Okay.
Plan on doing both.
Ollie, you tend to thrive in a metagame that's defined more so than an open one. So Worlds this weekend is going to be big for you. Just from a watching perspective, so you can start really formulating your game plan.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to see what does well, what doesn't do well, and hopefully tokens does not break out this weekend because I'd really like to play, but we'll see.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm definitely going to definitely keep up with what's going on in the World Championships, which, as most of you guys are listening, is going to be in progress as we speak. So,
I will also be working a festival too this weekend.
Just keep churning them out.
Saturday and Sunday.
Keep churning out those funnel cakes.
Buy one.
Oh, you're trying to sell me one. You said it was like $13. That was ridiculous. Basically. I can't afford that. How much do you think I'm worth? Not $13 worth of funnel cake. No. $13 worth of a funnel cake? How long is this funnel cake going to last me? Do I get like 4 meals off of it?
I mean, technically, it has enough calories.
Yeah, sure. Calorie-wise, I'm sure it's about 8 meals. But all right. Anyway, so go ahead.
I was going to quote the refreshment vendor where he says, "Funnel cakes, get your funnel cakes here." Then when he attacks, he's like, "Pay up."
Is that what he says?
Yeah, when he attacks, he's pay up. Then when he dies, he's like, "But I have more cakes."
Yeah, still, I still don't think they're talking about funnel cakes. I think that's a euphemism for something else. I'm going to go.
Well, it makes sense.
I'm going to go through all of the flavor text, all the Hearthstone flavor text to talk about funnel cakes. I'm telling you. I'm going to put an investigative report next week on funnel cakes and Hearthstone.
I really hope Wizards. I really hope Wizards takes a thing from Hearthstone like this and realizes that people like these little quotes and things that happen from
they're fun.
Hearthstone and implement it on MTG Arena because we're quoting just Hearthstone cards. People like say all kinds of stuff like Knife Juggler. They say put apple on your head or Abusive Sergeant like get in there. It's great. It's great. And I hope
pain. Yeah. There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, so I hope Magic takes from that and does the same thing because it's very catchy and I think that like you say those words out loud and people are like, "What's that from?" And you tell them, and that can actually like improve your game or increase the player base. So
no question. Yeah, it's well, I mean, it gets people talking about it when you put more, different types of if you can get that stuff in the pop culture lexicon, that's just more earballs and eyeballs.
Oh, it's crazy because if you ever watch the people that do in other languages, like each card says something different in different languages. That's insane. Yeah. And they all like, it's crazy how much Blizzard does for Hearthstone.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of next week, other than the investigative report on Hearthstone, on funnel cakes and Hearthstone, an epidemic is what I'm titling it. We are going to be talking about the switch from the new Ixalan Standard from Worlds into Nationals, because those are going to be 2 massive professional level tournaments for Magic in the Standard format. We're going to be paying close attention to Worlds. Ollie's going to be going to Nationals next week, so we're definitely going to talk about that. We'll probably talk about what Ollie's plans are and what he his breakdown of the metagame. So
You won't want to miss that
You
one.
definitely do not want to miss that one. Outside of that, Ali, where can people find you?
You can find me at gatheringmagic.com. My articles come out day before this. They come out on Friday. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Ali Aintrazi and Twitch at twitch.com/Ali Aintrazi. And if you are curious about that Absent token deck, it is in my Gathering Magic article this week, which came out Friday. So if you want to check that out, it is in there.
Awesome.
All right, Justin, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at jparnell1, and of course, I'm the host of Commander Versus on StarCityGames.com and YouTube. We just started our 9th season, and we recorded an episode this week that I did not enjoy at all. So if you like seeing me get really frustrated and lose, then you should definitely tune in next week. If you don't like that, you should stay far away from that episode, because it's basically my worst nightmare ever. So don't watch it. Unless you should watch it. You should watch it. How about this? Why don't you click on it, let it play in the background, but don't look at it or listen. We do need the views and the likes and the shares, but you don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I'm trying to forget about it. Anyway.
Oh man, not bad.
If you want to find the show that you guys are listening to, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, we would love for you guys to share the show on any of those 3 platforms. If you could throw us a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. If you could share the YouTube link, even better. If you can comment anywhere, we'd love to chat with you about the show. And of course, if you want to contact the show, you can do so on Twitter at ThinktwiceMTG. And of course, if you want to email us, thinktwicemtg@gmail.com. And of course, we have our Patreon set up now. We have 2 tiers. We have our $1 Augur of Bolas tier. This allows you early access to the show. It goes up normally for everyone on Saturday, but you can get this on Friday. This is a new reward tier that we have going up. And if you're in our $5 Disciple of Bolas tier, you can read exclusive blog posts from Ali and I. We actually have a handful up. The last one, by the time this episode goes up, that will have gone up, is going to be a picture diary of my favorite commander deck, my mono black Yeheni Undying Artisan deck. So that is definitely something for you Commander fans, which I'm sure you listened to this week for my top 10 of Commander. So if you're on our $5 Disciple Bolas tier, you can definitely check that out. And if you subscribe to that tier, we will give you a shout out on the show. So encourage you to do that.
And I just want to say, the best way to support the show is Patreon, and we really we appreciate all our Patreons and what they allow us to do, and even continue to do, and even do more of. So I personally just want to say thank you to everyone that is a Patreon supporter. You mean a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. You guys don't know how much you mean. You guys are the ones that are able to let us continue to do this. Obviously, it does cost us some time and money to put this show together, as far as hosting, and doing things to make sure that we can pay people to make sure that the show goes on. So we really appreciate that for those of you that are supporting us that way. Outside of that, we of course want to give a special thanks to our director and producer, John Choi, and our graphic designer, Amber West. Without them, the show would not be possible. And of course, I want to thank Ali for being an awesome co-host.
Thank you too, Justin. Love you, buddy.
I love you too. Okay, guys, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you guys very much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.